What if I told you that you could build a complete RAG system in less than 15 minutes without writing a single line of code? Today, I'll show you exactly how to go from RAG concept to a working implementation using Langflow's simple visual workflow builder. By the end of this video, you will understand the theory behind RAG and have an understanding of how you can build a fully functional RAG system that can answer questions about your document. Let's dive in. Firstly, let's understand what RAG actually is and why it is revolutionary for AI application. RAG stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation. So it's a technique through which a user communicates with a specialized knowledge base, utilizing and enhancing the power of LLMs, large language models, to generate and to get accurate and contextually relevant information. Simply put, RAG enhances a large language model by retrieving external documents and feeds it into the LLM as context before generating a relevant and accurate response. So here is how RAG works in 3 simple and basic steps. First, retrieve. It searches through our document to find relevant information. Second, augment. It combines the retrieved context with the user's question or query. Third, generate. The AI creates an answer based on both the question and the retrieved context. Now, here is the problem that RAG solves. First, it eliminates AI hallucination. So, RAG grounds responses in verified external sources, preventing models from generating false or fabricated information by assessing real-time authenticated data before responding. Secondly, it provides current information. Unlike static AI models trained on outdated data sets, RAG connects to live databases and current sources, ensuring responses reflect the latest facts, research, and development. Thirdly, it reduces costly retraining. Instead of expensive model retraining for domain-specific knowledge, RAG simplifies and it connects existing models to specialized databases, making AI adaptation cost-effective and rapid. Traditional RAG implementations require complex coding, database management, and integration headaches. But with Langflow, this problem is completely eliminated without writing a single line of code. Langflow is a visual low-code app that has a drag and drop interface that transforms complex AI workflows into manageable production-ready building blocks. It makes multi-agent AI, prompting, and RAG very easy and time efficient. So if you are new to using Langflow, you can just sign up and try Langflow using the link in the description. So right now, I want us to check out RAG in Langflow. So I'm going to click on this new flow, then select this vector store RAG. So this is a template that was built by Langflow. Good. So in this particular workflow, you see that we have 2 different subflow. So the very first one is the load data subflow. So this loads the file coming from a source, then chunks them via the split test. That is, it breaks it down into bit-sized text, then generates embedding for them and stores the chunks and their embeddings in the vector database. So you see that you have to put in your database embedding model and everything. So we'll still talk about that when we are building our own from scratch. So now let's come over to the retrieval flow. So it's a flow that answers questions with contextual data that is retrieved from the vector database. So you can see that this is the chart input here. It is connected directly to the vector store, which is AstraDB, and we also have OpenAI embeddings connected to this. So the output from the vector store is passed to the parser. So parser creates a more structured data output, then passed to the prompt. So in the prompt, you put in your prompt, you can type it here, then it is connected to the OpenAI, which is LLM, then it comes out as an output. Load data subflow and the retrieval subflow separated because you only run the load data subflow when you are updating the data source. But this retrieval flow will only be run as long as you want a response from the RAG chatbot. So that's why we separated it. Now let's build our own RAG from scratch. I'm going to select Langflow. So today I'm building a complete HR company policy RAG using Langflow that transforms how employees access critical workplace information. So traditional HR policy sits in static documents, PDF, handbook, and scattered files. So employees also waste hours searching or worse, get outdated information.
RAG solves this problem effectively.
So first, let me rename this. Good. So the very first component I will add is the file component, then drag and drop it. So my file component is on the screen, and the function of this is to load the file to be used in the project. So to upload the file, I select this particular place. Then I am going to select the HR policy handbook selected already. I open it. Then I'm going to hide the things that I don't need right now. I'm only going to need the data outputs. So I'm going to connect this to a split text for chunking. Split text. So it's going to process the uploaded file. Alright. So for the chunking, there are some parameters I can set. I'll just click on controls here, set it to 250. I'm going to set the chunk size to 1500. The other thing is still fine, so I can just close it. So the reason for setting the chunk size and the chunk overlap to these specific values is based on my embedding model. And there are some other factors that you need to consider. I'll talk about that in the best practices. So what I have to do is I'm going to connect this node to this particular split text component. So I'll run this to see whether it works effectively. Okay, so let me run the split text component also. So the next component I'm going to add to this is the vector store. So the vector store I'll be using is AstraDB. So automatically the token comes with it, which is stored as a global variable. Then I'm going to create a new database. So I'm going to select new database. Okay, let me name it. Okay, a cloud provider. I'm going to select Google Cloud Platform. For the region, US is 1. Then I'll select create. Now you can see that the database we just created is showing here. So I'm going to select it.
Navigate to astra.datastack.com to check the vector store database.
So after I waited for a while, status of my database changed to being active. So I'm going to navigate back to the interface. Alright, so now I'm going to create a new collection. You can see that this has appeared. So I'm going to click on new collection. Then the name of this will be HR policy. Then this particular place, you can either choose bring your own or NVIDIA here. When you choose bring your own, you have to attach an external embedder. I'm going to click on create. I'm going to come here and refresh the list. Alright, so we can see that our collection gets displayed here. So I've selected it. Connect this node of the chunks to the ingest data of the vector store. So now we have our load data flow successfully built. Then let me come over to controls. So for the search query, we don't actually need it here since we are just loading the data at this point in time. So I'm going to click on close. So I've successfully completed the load data flow, and I will just run the component. So while it's running, I'm going to build the retrieve data flow. So to build the retrieve data subflow, I'm going to start with a chat input. So this receives the user message. Then the user input goes directly into AstraDB, which is our vector store. AstraDB, okay, where it is embedded. So we are going to connect it to search query. So we are going to select a database name. We have this here already. And we are going to select the collection we initially created. Good. We are going to connect the vector store to a parser. Alright, so the function of the parser is to format the data frame into text that is readable. Alright, so from the parser, I'm going to connect it to my prompt. Then I'll drag and drop. So you have to define a very rich prompt for this. So I have my prompt already. I'll just copy and paste it here. Then you notice that I defined two variables, which is context and question. So this receives inputs. And for you to define a variable, you have to place the text in a curly bracket. So I'm going to check and save this. Connect the past text to the context. Yes, the context variable. Then I'm going to connect this chat input over here to the question variable. So we can see that everything is properly configured. So right from the prompt, next thing to do is to connect the prompt template to the OpenAI, which is the large language model. So as earlier explained, RAG enhances the response of LLMs and helps them generate a natural language that is aligned with the context that we want. So I'm going to connect this output. This is going to serve as the input for the large language model. Then you have to store your OpenAPI key as a global variable. So you can choose to add a new variable. I have mine added already, so I'll select it. It's selected already. So I'm going to connect the OpenAI LLM to the chat output such that it displays an output for the users to see. So I connect this to this. So right now we are going to run the load data flow first before we run the retrieve data flow. That's the appropriate practice. So I'm going to click on this run icon. So now we can check our old data here. So here is the full data. You can see everything in text format. Then I can close, so you'll see the chunks. Everything is broken down into smaller bits. Now let's move to the load data flow. You see the chat input. Now let's run this separately and let's see. Okay, I clicked on run. So now let's navigate to the playground. Then I'm going to ask it a question. What is the dress code? Good. So the dress code is professional business attire. Employees are expected to dress in a manner that is appropriate for their job duties and work environments. So we can actually monitor and check how it was processed. So it took the relevant chunk, processed everything via the prompt, then the OpenAI gave us a very grounded response. So let's just navigate to Data Explorer. It performs vector similarity search before it gives us a response. So now we can also deploy this to a front end like Lovable. So we'll check how it works. I'm going to ask it a question right now. Let's wait while it loads. It gets updated right here in the playground. So this works effectively. If you want to know how you can connect your Langflow with external tools, API, and managed services, feel free to check the video linked in the description. I'll be highlighting what we have in the original document, so we'll see that it's very, very similar, and this RAG workflow is very accurate and it gives us contextual answers based on our question. Here are the best practices for you to follow when implementing RAG workflow in Langflow. Implement dual flow architecture with separate load data flow and retrieval flow for production systems. This separates data ingestion from query processing, enabling independent scaling and maintenance. Use global variables for configuration consistency across all workflow components and environments. This enables easy configuration management and prevents inconsistencies between development and production deployment. Use the same embedding model for both document ingestion and query retrieval phases to ensure vector compatibility. Use context-aware prompts that dynamically adapt based on retrieved content quality and user query types. So here is a simple formula that you can implement, the craft formula. It is displayed on the screen. Enable detailed logs of users' queries, retrieve documents, and generation outputs. This helps to catch mismatches very early.
Chunk size and overlap. The best tip is to start with 1000 tokens chunk size and 200 token overlap for most documents. Factors that should be considered include the document type. Technical documents need larger chunks, query complexity, factual queries use smaller chunks, and model limits. So you have to test the retrieval accuracy and adjust to suit your needs.
Thank you for watching this video. If you have further questions, feel free to join the Langflow's official Discord channel. It is linked in the description. Then there are other additional resources that will help you understand RAG better.